This really should be Mr. Ferguson, so we did a little back and forth. The students are well prepared, and they're the best voices that we can hear, so I'm going to turn it over to our students.
Wonderful.
Good evening. My name is Reem Ahmed, and I'm a senior at Lincoln North Star High School. My purpose is to advocate for student voice, engage in progressive dialogue, and promote diverse and equitable spaces.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. My name is Gilbert Chola. I'm a senior at Lincoln East High School. My purpose is to help other people continue to educate themselves as I continue to progress with my educational journey. Daniel Yo, who is also a member of the Cadre and helped prepare tonight's message, is unable to be here because he has a middle school band concert. He's a 7th grader at Scott. But he asked us to share his purpose, which is to voice, reflect, and progress to raise new generations of leaders in our community.
We are all representative of the Lincoln Public Schools District Scholar Equity Cadre, which we have members representing here today. The Cadre is a diverse body of scholars from around the district to advise district leadership on policies and strategies which impact diversity and equity while profiling the success among scholars of color. As you recall, this past February, our peers stood before you and brought recognition. As a district, we have to work to prevent negative encounters among students across all schools in LPS and inevitably all schools in Nebraska within the Nebraska State Athletic Association. We thank you as this produced a positive push to a challenge. How can the LPS school district prevent and raise awareness of harmful weaponized interactions between students, parents, and spectators that involve LPS teams/groups that have an overall negative impact?
As members of the LPS Equity Cadre, we embrace our responsibility to increase awareness amongst our peers, respective schools, and greater district, and community about positive, negative, and challenges that directly impact scholars of color like myself, and go directly towards or against the purpose of the Lincoln Public School to provide the highest quality education for all LPS students and to develop responsible adults. We recognize and appreciate the time put forward by various stakeholders. However, we wanted to provide a scholarly perspective as the implementation of these action steps begins in the 2022-2023 school year. We spent time in conversations with peers, staff at our April 19th Cadre meeting, examining barriers and next steps in the district's future direction towards the action of the following.
Honors course enrollment goal. The board identified honors course enrollment as an area of challenge and set the goal to reduce disproportionality by 75% between all students who have completed at least one honors course in each student group. As a member of this committee, I applaud the work of my committee members to identify action steps that serve the students of LPS. These include improved communication about honors courses to every student of color, to improve in communication about the gifted program to students and families of color, provide continuous professional learning for all teachers to support students of color, to establish consistent practices across all buildings and between levels to identify and enroll students of color in honors courses, to establish consistent practices across all buildings and between levels to identify and enroll students of color in the gifted program, and finally, provide and enhance comprehensive support for students and families of color to ensure success in honors courses. Today, I will be focusing on two of those 6 action steps: establishing consistent practices across all buildings and between levels to identify and enroll students of color in the gifted program, and providing and enhancing comprehensive support for students and families of color to ensure success in honors courses. As a success, I believe this committee successfully identified challenges students of color face when being identified as gifted. Having consistent practices for gifted identification helps to eliminate discrepancies between schools, discrepancies which ultimately hurt students. Furthermore, focusing on student support while they continue their path in taking future DIF, honor, AP, and IB classes is crucial for student success. As a DIF and AP student, I know the support from staff is a large part that contributes to my success in class. We must promote that students of color enroll in honors classes, but beyond that, we must provide them with assistance and tools to pass and succeed. For enhancement, from a student perspective, as a student I identified as gifted early on in elementary school, I am well aware that many peers have not been given the same opportunities as myself to be identified as gifted early on, which can hinder their opportunities going forward. During my time on the committee, I learned that gifted identification is not so much focused on high school students, but younger age students. So when carrying out the action step, I believe we must focus specifically on elementary and early middle school students receiving consistent identification methods. The shift in focus can help enhance this action step and equitably allow the right amount of attention to the age that needs it the most. We often fail to acknowledge some of the realities in some of our schools. While yes, reaching out to students of color and their parents is crucial, the truth is that in my experience while taking honors classes, they hold a stigma of elitism, unwelcomeness, and a majority white perspective that may be perpetuated by other students or even teachers and staff that drive away students of color. The presence of these stigmas and stereotypes may not be clear to parents or administration, but we must focus on creating a culture that not only in these classes, but in our school for a better environment for me and my peers.
We'll now be moving on to the diverse staff goal. This goal states to increase the percentage of certified staff from diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds by 25% to a target of 8.1%. A proper response of the diverse staff goal was the implementation of the committee that was formed to address the disproportionality and lack of diverse educators. They put in the time and focus of hiring diverse educators and allowed people who historically wouldn't be on that committee to bring their voice and experience. There would be no way to have this conversation without giving diverse individuals a seat at the table to express their questions, concerns, and advice. There also needs to be scholars brought in on this committee. These board goals are created to provide scholars with the tools that they need for success. And though we appreciate that time today, we would welcome the opportunity in the future to be engaged as Reem was in the board goal that she spoke to just previously. Positive awareness of the things educators, especially diverse staff, do on a daily basis creates a positive connotation behind the word educators. Something to think about. How do we encourage students who have been marginalized in school to come back and make a change? We recognize that data is important to show that we are reaching this benchmark for this goal, and administration cannot forget that by focusing on the individual's needs, like mine as a diverse scholar, we will be able to shift the number. Within this, we address my peers in our community's needs to make our diverse educator effort reflect our district to its fullest extent. This now focuses on the needs rather than the want. I stress that my peers and myself need not only Black educators, but Hispanic educators, Native American, Asian, LGBTQ, and educators with ability, but also disability. We recognize and speak to the challenge of where and how do we engage diverse educators, and how do we get them to see Lincoln, Nebraska and say, I want to be there. Here's your solution. Take me. Who's going to say no to my face? Scholar-infused recruitment. Provide multiple platforms for educators to see firsthand the students they're serving before they step foot in the city. Build an attachment and recognize their needs. If you're seeing this, educators of diversity, and if you're watching this, we need you. They will be more willing to come to Lincoln regardless of the unknown. We'll now be moving on to the positive behavior goal. This goal was constructed by Daniel, who, as previously stated, is not here tonight. But the goal states to seek to reduce total suspensions for all students by 20% and reduce disproportionality ratios by 1.2% or less for all student groups. LPS staff will be trained in restorative and trauma-informed practices to implement those practices and continue to foster their own growth mindset to enhance positive relationships with students. Systems of academic and behavioral support that are equitable, restorative, and multi-tiered will be implemented with fidelity in all LPS schools and programs. To sum this up, since I can't go through all of it due to time constraints, we want to change the narrative that suspensions are socially tolerated. We want to create a positive school-wide culture, which is extremely important. From our personal experience at our schools, people aren't generally ashamed of their suspension records, and they're rather proud, and they recount these experiences. We definitely don't want to suspend students and make them feel left out and hurt their social experiences or other like social hurdles. But at the same time, we don't want students to see suspension and shrug it off as no big deal or have it viewed as something that's cool. We're aware this goal did seek scholar input, engaging those impacted, just not by their opinions, to be a part of this solution.
We'll be moving on to graduation rates. The board identified action steps to raise the all students graduation rate to 87% and reduce existing differentials from all students by 50%. We believe that the goal of graduation rates is encompassed in all of our previously stated board goals. We can't focus on decreasing suspension, increasing honor class enrollment, and increasing diverse staff recruitment without envisioning what graduation looks like for a district of equity with each and every scholar experiencing on-time graduation. I believe the goal of reviewing and evaluating how students earn credit to create new pathways towards earning or recovering credit is a strong action step that students will find real benefit from. Expanding the way LPS students can complete their requirements ensures that the path to graduation is not a one-size-fits-all pathway, but instead benefits and serves all students, starting that journey even before 9th grade. I think that it is crucial for the committee to identify transitions as an area to focus on. And as stated in the report, some of these systems that would be a focus would be orientations, transition communications to families, and staff processes. I think an area of enhancement, specifically for the 8th to 9th grade transition, is to help every incoming freshman build a graduation goal plan. This way, they can lay out the classes and credits they should take and should be focusing on every year, and for the next 4 years, they have a path set from early on. Instead of reviewing their credits when they sign up for classes at the end of each year, they can have a reference point to edit and maintain from when they enter high school until they graduate. We encourage continued examination within the goal. Again, not just in the data, but just as our district is the diversity of the reasons, challenges, and untapped potential for our peers who don't graduate or find themselves not on track to graduate by the end of their high school career. One way to find an umbrella action step to the unique circumstances students face when working towards graduation is to promote that staff start and maintain strong relationships within each and every student that enters their school. Whether it's a counselor, teacher, admin, custodian, secretary, or any other faculty in the school, we need to recognize and prioritize how having that close relationship can impact and encourage students to work towards that diploma and stay on track to graduate. Having staff checking in on all students, not just those who are struggling, can promote that sense of belonging in a safe environment and encourage on-track graduation.
In conclusion, we would like to thank a number of people who have helped lead us as scholars to this point and help the district get to where it is in terms of equity. Thank you to the current and past scholars over the years that the LPS Scholar Equity Cadre has had, and for their continued commitment to equity in all aspects of the district and their support in the various work that we do as a cadre, even through the challenges. We would also like to extend a thank you to the school board education members for your commitment to equity, and thank you in advance for the work that you will be doing in the future. We would like to thank Youth Development Coordinator, Mr. Pete Ferguson. Without him, we wouldn't be where we're at right now, and we wouldn't be having this space to have this conversation with you guys, so thank you to him. Our cadre members for our support. We would like to thank Mr. Don Martinez, Miss Brittany Bolkovac, Mr. Bill Bryant, and Miss Khalil Latenzer for their continued guidance and advocacy for student voices in order to promote equitable experiences for scholars throughout the district. Our goal as LPS scholars are always to empower, educate, and engage. Thank you for your time. We will now welcome any questions.
Board, any questions or comments? Okay, Kathy, and then Dr. Rauner.
So I got to watch your cadre work a little at a meeting at North Star. I was very impressed with the number of students and their interactions. Can we get a copy of your goals?
Of course, yes.
Dr. Rauner.
Yeah, the best long-term solution to getting more educators with diversity is getting students like you to consider careers in education. So what can we do to consider you guys becoming our next generation of teachers?
Well, the easy answer is pay me.
That's your guy.
Done, check.
But in just being completely transparent and honest with you guys, I think once you help people see that there's a place for them in the district and help them feel welcome and help them feel that they're going to be an impact and their voice is going to be heard, at that point they're going to have to commit, because that's all people want, and that's a big motivating factor for people of color to be entering this workforce.
Annie.
First of all, thank you very much for all of your work and taking such a serious look at the body of work that a lot of people have been working hard on. And I saw Sarah back there taking notes very, very quickly. One of my questions is, as we move forward in our journey here, our equity journey, and when we also move forward, probably in the next year, of working on our strategic plan and so forth, where and when is the place for a scholar's voice? What would you suggest?
I think we can both attack this question. But so I think you can include scholars in everything you do, because that just brings another aspect or another perspective to the table that you wouldn't necessarily see all the time. I feel like as we try to progress, everything is completely one-sided and everything is seen in this tunnel. But when you bring in scholar perspective, they're the ones inside the schools. So they're seeing everything that's going on and they're hearing everything inside the schools. So when you bring them in, they bring a heightened sense of perspective that sometimes people who aren't in schools every day wouldn't see. So regardless of what it is, you can include scholars to bring in their voice, and all they need is an opportunity to be heard.
Great. Mr. Mayhew.
I would also echo everything Gore said. As a part of the Honors Enrollment Committee, I got like a unique experience that I would never have had previously, and being surrounded by adults who work from in district office to the schools, anywhere in between. It was a really unique experience for me to see like all of that work kind of happening, but also I felt that my voice and another scholar who was on the committee's voice was very valued, because we are both people who are in honors classes, and having that like perspective of someone who took the classes and is recently or is still going through LPS is something that they really did need for their end findings. So I think student voices should be included in every single part of the process as much as possible, because in the end, a student perspective, the person who experiences the changes that the board puts forward, is different from seeing it from kind of the outside looking in.
Thank you for your opinion.
Mr. Mayhew.
I was just going to say, this board administration, we've demonstrated many times that we are committed to moving the needle on equity and diversity, but we clearly still have so much work to do. Thank you all for your patience while we continue to try to make progress, and thank you for participating and giving us your thoughts and your good ideas, which were very good. I'm glad Kathy asked for copies. I was going to do the same. So I'm looking very much forward to reading through the parts that you weren't able to get through tonight. So thank you for doing that. At the end of your comments, sir, you had mentioned several of the names, which I assume are the other students sitting at the table. But since they took the time to drive out, I wonder if we could have them each introduce themselves and their school and their grade.
Good evening. My name is Rick Bull. I presented on the board a couple months ago, and I'm a senior from Lincoln High School. And my purpose is to provide new perspectives while seeking growth for myself and others.
My name is Adelia Mayo. I am a senior at Southeast. I also presented to the board a few months ago with him, and my purpose is to learn as much as I can and use what I learned to help others.
My name is Savannah Burton. I'm a junior at Lincoln East, and my purpose is to be a voice for younger generation, for the younger generation, so they have someone who will listen to them and help spread their ideas.
Welcome all, and thank you for sharing.
Thank you
Yes,
very
thank you.
much. Dr. Weber, if you want to take that contract on out there and get that signed, I appreciate it.
He knows.
All right, board, we'll move on with our agenda here. Our next item is public comment. We will hear speakers for 1 hour and then move into our business meeting. The last public comment, we'll hear the remainder of the speakers. Blue cards are available at the entrance for those wishing to speak. Each speaker is allowed 5 minutes and may provide printed materials to the board. Please begin your remarks by introducing